While most high-ranking Western politicians in power refuse to admit that sanctions against Russia have thus far been ineffective against the country and have rather been more burdensome to their own nations, it seems that former politicians have been more willing to say the truth out loud.
Even Russia is not losing economically. The ruble has become one of the strongest currencies since the rise in natural gas prices. Russia has managed to become the regulator that turns the energy supply tap on and off. Europe is going downhill at the moment, and in my view, there's a very clear leadership deficit, a deficit of thinking and strategy.
The former Greek prime minister acutely noted that the U.S. is itself not losing economically and said that it is Europe and the world that are entering a protracted Cold War that will result in serious economic consequences. Others pointed out that Europe is actually helping Russia more than Ukraine with these sanctions.
Seventh sanctions package in preparation. Who cares? EU has now sent exponentially more money to Russia in oil, gas and coal purchases than it has sent Ukraine in aid. Oil prices are up. Ruble is even stronger. Some are still concerned about provocative restrictions. Lamentable.
One former minister of Cyprus took it a step further, admitting that the sweeping sanctions haven't just been ineffective, but have in reality backfired against all of Europe and are further flagrant violations of international legal principles.
Yet the imposition of sanctions, their effect and even their legality have proven to be more elusive than originally foreseen. At best, the sanctions are ineffective and have done little to tackle the illegality of the invasion. At worst, they have backfired, not only against the economies of the states imposing them, but also against the rule of law that the democracies imposing such measures purport to uphold.
While former politicians continue their criticisms, HSBC Bank has proclaimed that a recession is unavoidable. Massive protests against sanctions and NATO in response to soaring electricity costs have become popular in the EU as the effects from the cut in Russian supplies begin to show. Unlike former politicians able to voice their concerns on the sanctions without political backlash, German parliament member Sarah Wagenknecht of the Left Party has been threatened with expulsion by members of her own party for speaking out against Germany's foreign policy and NATO.
But the idea that we are punishing Putin by plunging millions of families in Germany into poverty and that we are destroying our industry while Gazprom is making record profits, yes, how stupid is that?
The German leftists went after Greens, Liberals, and Social Democrats' grandiose idea of unleashing an economic war against their most important energy supplier, calling for an end to the sanctions on Russia and demanding a negotiation with Moscow to resume gas supplies. This was unacceptable to her enraged colleagues.
The fact that the Left Party parliamentary group let Wagenknecht take the podium last Thursday in the Bundestag, and what she then, one should have known, let loose, was too much.
While most current Western politicians remain in denial of their current economic reality, the truth is clearly catching up to them the more time passes and the higher the costs of energy impact their nations, while Russia remains largely unscathed from the sanctions. How far are they willing to go to show Putin? And how long will politicians be able to stay silent as more of them are forced to speak out to answer the demand coming from their own citizens?